Good morning and evening, wherever you are. We'll carry on with what we've been doing. Now, hopefully, those of you who have been watching put this into practice and you'll start to feel and realize what this can do for you. If this is your first time, we'll go over what we have been doing briefly to do with the breath and synchronization of the breath to body movement and flow. And then I'm going to start by bringing in some of the higher aspects of yoga, just talking about integrating the breath with concentration, which is one of the higher forms of yoga called dhyana. And as we do that, the breathing kind of opens up the doorway to the subconscious mind, and what's in your mind, everything from hopes and fears to worries, can all come up as you're breathing. So you just focus on feeling the breath and letting that go. As we go through with breathing and movement, I'll bring up some ideas to contemplate. That's another form of yoga. And this has to do with looking at what the thoughts are and whether they're good for you, bad for you, and then kind of weeding them out if they're not positive, beneficial thoughts that don't serve any purpose. Especially the worrisome ones are exactly the worrisome ones that have worry and fear attached to it as emotions. Those can affect you quite seriously. Good morning, Sarah. I see you. Hope things are good in Penang and you're having a good time practicing with all this time off.
Looking forward to this. That's Tom.
All right. Hey, Tom, how are you? Nice to see you guys, even if it's just a digital you.
Okay, if you guys can just put yourself on mute. Thank you.
Okay, we'll carry on with the class. These aspects of concentration, contemplation are of fundamental importance that people often disregard because they're just doing the physical side. So we're doing all these different forms of yoga, putting it all together, and it makes it much more effective. So let's go back to the beginning, the breath. The first thing we do when we're born. And for the moment, we go into the abdominal breath, which is exactly the first thing that happens when you're born. This part of you kicks in automatically, begins your life in the body. So you're initiating this and activating the diaphragm muscle that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal. And as it pushes down, it's putting pressure on all the abdominal organs. And when you release it, it comes back up. So the pressure on the abdominal organs makes it seem like your belly is bulging out. That's fine. The air is not going down there. And then you use the abdominal muscles to contract and squeeze on the exhalation. So in breath, out breath. Concentration is on feeling the motion. If thoughts come up, just let them go as quick as they come up. Don't attach your observer to the thinking process. The observer is noticing the feeling of the belly moving. Add to that the feeling of the air flowing in and out. That's enough to be paying attention to. Once we have that movement, we're just going to accelerate it a little bit today. This becomes a more advanced technique of Kapalabhati, but for the moment we're just working on getting this action going. It really increases circulation through the whole abdominal cavity, brings more oxygen to everything, and digs the carbon dioxide out from wherever it's been hiding by being there overnight and just hanging out. So, same thing, and just go to your own speed, and you don't want to sacrifice the depth of the breath. So you keep it deep on the inhalation. On the exhalation, you're squeezing it out a little faster. It will also open up the nasal passages and clear out the sinuses and everything. So let's go with the breath in and squeeze out. To the side view, keep it going. Just another couple of rounds, and then relax it. When you relax it, squeeze everything out and take a very full breath with all parts, abdominal, mid, and upper. Blast that out. One more. That's our cleansing breath. And then in and lock one in. Remember the lock from last time? You're just locking at the top of the windpipe. Your chest and shoulders have come up in the third part of the breath, and then you relax them back down without exhaling. Notice whatever feelings come up, all body sensations, all energetic sensations, the state of your mind and emotions. Sit calmly, take one complete deep breath and let it go. Okay, let's come forward. We're still with the abdominal breath, and we're bringing in a little bit more pressure as we sit in a rabbit pose. So feel your abdomen, and now it's pushing against your thighs. In breath, the pressure is there, and draw the abdomen in from the thighs. When the abdomen drops back down, your diaphragm is pushing it down. You can feel the pressure against your thighs. Feel the pressure. You're strengthening the diaphragm muscle by doing this. And now squeeze in, exhale. For those of you who can, we take this into a slightly more advanced position, a more complete rabbit, where you are now really feeling the pressure because you're pushed up against your thighs. So it takes more effort for the diaphragm to push down. Again, any muscle working against a resistance will get stronger, especially when we're doing the breathing and bringing more oxygen to that muscle. Let's come back up to an easier position. Take the breath to a fuller extent here. So it's not just the abdomen, but coming also up into the midsection. Then reach your hands forward. We'll come up do some movements with the tiger first and then fall back down into a child's pose. So in our tiger, we are dropping the belly down, your tailbone's lifting up, and your head comes up. On the exhalation, you're moving everything upwards. The center of your back is being pulled up. Your tailbone drops down. Your head goes down between your arms. In breath, other way. Let's go into a smooth movement with this. As much breath as you can. Feel that you're filling up completely, squeezing it all out on the exhalation. Now we activate it a little further by bringing the leg into play. From tiger to a prancing tiger, leg goes back and up. We're following this same movement and just engaging one leg at a time. Inhale, exhale. We're going for number 9. And then we switch to the other leg. 9 on that side also. And contemplate, that's engaging the mind. All of this movement, you're really squeezing your whole torso and chest on this out breath. So that's pumping more air out of your lungs than just sitting in a straight position. The collapsing of the chest is an important part of it. So we take the leg back and up, full in breath. Your lungs are open with their maximum capacity in this position. And then exhale. That was 9. Each one acts as a cleansing breath because we're really pumping everything out. The other aspect is because of all the torso movement, circulation is being moved everywhere, in and around the cells in every gland and organ. And that flushes out any carbon dioxide or any residue from cell metabolism or any toxic materials are flushed out in that process. While you're sleeping, everything settles down, all these things, including CO2, which you're slowly creating even while you're asleep. It doesn't get circulated out very well. So this is waking up the body, flushing everything out, and bringing fresh oxygen into all of those cells. Okay? Let's go forward and into this position. Essentially a child's pose, but we bring the hands up and then lift the hands onto fingertips, and the fingers are sort of pulling the arms away from you. This effectively opens the upper chest a little bit more, and now we bring in that upper section of the breath where you feel the expansion up here and your shoulders are moving apart and away from each other and coming back in. We are effectively circulating all the lymphatic fluids, pushing that fluid through all of the lymph nodes, of which there are many up in this area. And from there, the lymph goes back into the bloodstream. This is part of the process. It activates the autoimmune system. These lymph nodes are scanning your lymph for anything from the CO2 to carbon debris from cell metabolism, free radicals, or even viruses. And it send signals to the autoimmune system to activate and take care of whatever problem is there. So let's go into it if you're not already there. And upper section breath, feel your shoulders moving out and back in. Keep it going, a few more breaths. If you've been working with this Chakra Yoga style of breath synchronization to movement, this probably feels very good. If breathing is new to you, it might bring up different feelings, different emotions, sensations of dizziness or something. Just go through it. It's all good for you. You're increasing circulation. More oxygen into that circulation. 2 more breaths, and then we'll come back up to a sitting position. At this point, we've stretched this out. Now we're going to move the area, going a little deeper and further with the upper section of the breath. So the same thing applies as far as circulation of lymphatic fluid through the lymph nodes back into the bloodstream. By doing this kind of breath, you are helping that to happen at a better rate. So shoulders come up and back. We've done it up and down. We've done it forwards and back. We're going to do it diagonally, going from down and forwards and then up and back. This is creating a movement that allows your lungs go from maximum capacity to a slouched, pressuring out the air. Those of you who've been here will recognize the sound of the cicada bugs in the background. We are in the jungle. In the jungle we have really good quality air. If you're in a polluted city, you want to be up above the ground if you can. Most of the pollution is heavy and hangs in at the bottom, close to the ground, in the traffic. Upper section of the breath. Again, the other feature of this is many people get very uptight in this area from our lifestyle of sitting too much, sitting at a desk, working on a computer, laptop, whatever. So de-stress the area by doing this. And it brings oxygen into all the muscles that were holding too tight. More circulation right through those muscles. Speaking of clean jungle air, a couple of facts to contemplate. There were 2 areas that were hit hard by the coronavirus, Wuhan and a city in Italy. And both of these cities are some of the most polluted places on the planet. Heavy-duty pollution. Your lungs are already damaged all over. And that's what people did. The virus was just like the last straw. If your lungs are healthy, the virus is not going to infect them. So what we're doing is creating health of the lungs. It works 100% of the time if you are doing the work. But that's your responsibility. Another breath or 2, all parts. Now let's just play a little bit with the retention. We do that with all parts, abdominal, mid, and upper. Full breath to begin. Hope the bug's not getting too loud for you. I can do some noise reduction on the video of this. Anyway, A, B, C. Abdominal, mid, and upper. Next one, we're going to lock it in after the upper. So your shoulders are coming up and back a little bit on that last part of the breath. You lock in with the top of the windpipe and relax downward. Feel whatever you feel. If you notice any sensations of energy movement or lightheadedness, dizziness, it's okay. Part of the process. Letting it go. We're going to repeat some of our earlier positions. So much of it is about the breath. And this one, the tigress, you're squeezing one lung on the one side by doing this. You can feel your ribs compressing on that side. So by squeezing that lung as you exhale, you're getting more out than just in a straight position. So let's do this to each side. Our full inhalation is in the center. Exhale, bend as far as you can. Squeeze all the air out. Full in breath center, other side, exhale. Feel. Working and exercising your lungs, squeezing them out, letting them go. What we do in a massage is an area of your body is kind of squeezed and released. The pressure and release circulates all of the lymphatic fluid. It's a fluid that's everywhere in your body. It needs to circulate for our health. And in our standard sit-down jobs, it does not circulate enough to maintain health. So we need to do some of this. Now, we end up with taking a breath and holding it in. Lock and do the same bend. Back to center, exhale, take a breath in, lock. Bend, other side. Keep going with the breath in and out to the inhale to the side. On that held in breath, it's quite a different effect from what we were doing. Now your lungs are both full and you're squeezing one side. So the air is being pushed into the opposite lung and opening up that lung a little further. There's millions and billions of little air bubbles inside your lungs called alveoli, and some of them haven't been used very much. Many of them are rarely used in normal life. So this is pushing the air out into all of those so that the air circulates in there and comes back out. Healthy lungs is what we are creating or reestablishing. A couple more times. Feel the pressure in your upper chest, maybe even up into your head sometimes when you do this. if it feels a little bit uncomfortable when you're doing this, that's probably okay. So stay with your feelings, don't shy back from them. If the comfort becomes intense and to the point of pain, then draw back on what you're doing, do it a little bit less. But the idea of doing this, even if there's some uncomfortable feelings, you're gradually pushing those feelings further away. And the feeling comes from something not quite right in your body somewhere, and what you're doing is changing the situation. And this is done one breath at a time with the appropriate posture, movement, and mental attitude. The mental attitude means when you feel something negative, uncomfortable, don't start thinking negative about it. Recognize instead that you can change the feeling. And then you apply the breath and the movement and feel your way through the experience as the feeling changes. Any area of your body that doesn't have enough oxygen and circulation is not going to feel that good. So when you become conscious of that in your body, you do the appropriate techniques to rejuvenate that area. Okay, let's carry on with rejuvenating. So I wanted to introduce a simple little thing. How are we doing for time?
12 minutes.
Okay. I want to introduce a concept called Hatha Yoga Dandal. Those of you who've done some of these are familiar with the term. Most people have never heard of it. It's an ancient, solid part of the grounding side of the Hatha Yoga department to do with movement, body. But this one is specifically for muscle building and rejuvenation. The motions are done very integrated with breath. They're done in slow motion with concentration, no thinking, not hundreds of repetitions, but very slow motion. So I'll demonstrate a few moves. Traditionally done without any props or assistance or help. So when I first started doing this, I did it with some rocks. I was living in the forests of British Columbia. I just used rocks for weights because they're like weight training. Many of the moves are imagining the weight or imagining a resistance, and then you're effectively using your imagination to engage all of these muscles. With practice, that's easier and more effective. But to begin the practice, I found using weights, and in teaching this, people use weights until they can feel the muscles, and then you can concentrate on feeling the muscles. If you don't even know you have these muscles, and you have hundreds of muscles in your body, many of them you don't even know what they do. You just move. You just do things. And your muscles are what do the work. So we're going to feel the muscles. Do you want one of these? Sure. You can use any kind of weight. Doesn't need to be heavy. But you can feel that you're working something. So I'm taking the breath in here, very deep, and then exhaling. And I'm concentrated here on feeling the biceps muscle. It's the one that actually does the work, does the lifting. One specific muscle doing 90% of the work here. So the inhalation is all the way back down. Let's slow it down even more than that. In the original book that I had on this, he was explaining doing it to the point of 1 minute to go through the whole movement. So we're doing it in about 10 seconds. It literally is too fast. And you find if you do it slower, it feels like more work. Your muscle gets tired faster. So let's go again. full inhalation here. You're concentrated on feeling the engagement of that muscle. That's more important than the lifting of the weight. Developing our ability to feel physiologically. If you start to feel that it's tiring, then you take a cleansing breath, like, because we are creating extra carbon dioxide by doing this, so you want to occasionally make sure you get rid of that. So we'll do a couple more of these, see if you can feel it. Next time, bring a weight, or we're going to be doing a longer, complete video on the dumbbell series very shortly. Okay, relax. Do a few more deep breaths. You get the picture?
Make sure you do your other arm too.
Yeah, okay, let's do the other arm. I'm feeling out of balance.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few times to feel this muscle balancing out on the opposite side. Slow it down a bit more. Last time. We're good. Relax your arms, even shake them out a little bit. So why are we doing this? It's not just because we want to build muscles. There's a chemical reaction inside your body. When you engage muscle cells, they put out little chemicals, little neuropeptides, they're called. There's thousands of specific neuropeptides. These go around into circulation and they trigger other parts of the body, of the system. The muscle cells need nutrition, they need oxygen. So the triggers, the little neuropeptides go around, they engage the digestive system so that you'll be able to digest and assimilate your food better. They trigger the autoimmune system to take care and clean out the body. All these systems are connected, interrelated. So when you're using muscles, the others have to be there to supply the nutrients, the oxygen, and then to detoxify the muscle. So it's not just what you're doing is for the muscle. In yoga, everything is entangled, interrelated, influencing each other. That's how our bodies work. So what we're doing is beneficial for everything. Also, another little factor is the strength of your body determines the strength of your autoimmune system. So if you are in a weakened state, you're more vulnerable to disease. If your lungs are in a very weakened and damaged state, obviously some kind of a virus can get in there and infect you a little too easily. So we're strengthening everything. Take a breath, blast it out. Notice how I'm doing this. You can be sitting in your office chair, if you're still working in your office these days. Hopefully not. Maybe on your couch, watching a YouTube video. Moving your body, simply. You're sitting whichever way, and you move the body with the breath. This is like the tiger we were doing. And if you want, you can throw in a retention of the last one. Shoulders up and back, lock in, relax everything. Let that go. When you do that, you might get a slight different sensation mentally, emotionally. Things might sound a little different, or from dizziness to some kind of lightheadedness. And I talked other times about this state of consciousness which can be changed very quickly by doing these breath retentions. And I'll just repeat that to some of you who didn't get that lesson. On this breathing, taking several deep breaths, making sure you exhale each one, and on the last one, shoulders up and back, lock, relax everything, and you can hold it in there for a period of time. You might get some sensation of dizziness, you might feel that your body is getting woozy or dizzy or something is changing. And that goes on to being a light-headed, euphoric feeling that is very pleasant, and that's the beginning of the higher states of consciousness in yoga. So this state is also a state of consciousness, where your mind has lost some of its control, and your consciousness is just getting into the experience of energy moving and different things that are here and now in the reality without thinking about it. So you literally disengage the mind at this point. Your memory might shut down temporarily. Don't worry about it. It will come back. And you kind of forget where you are and what you are doing. This is a good state. It's de-stressing the mind from all of its controls of rational, logical thinking. In that state of forgetfulness, you can forget your problems. You can forget what the emotional state that was bothering you before, and what was that? It's gone for a moment. So it's a technique for changing states of consciousness. That can be applied to healing, to worries, to fears, to all the things that are invading the human mind these days, globally. So we need to uplift our own mind out of that periodically. Okay. We're going to come up and do a couple of simple movements, moving our body a little bit more and integrating the motion with breath always. So take your left leg to the back and we'll just stretch it out a bit. Your toes are gripping the mat. Your leg is straight and you're pushing the heel backwards. This is done through the exhalation. Take in a breath, kind of rolling forward over your hands. Exhale, going back. A simple stretch of the legs. If we're sitting and doing these breathing techniques, it can be a lot of sitting, but I encourage you to do a lot of movement with all of this. Now let's go to the other leg, other side, even though it maybe didn't do 9 there. Now go back to the left leg and bring it to the front between your hands. And we'll just straighten both our legs and lift the pelvis, tailbone up. Both legs straight, you kind of let your body sink down towards your foot. Now come the other way back into the down position. Your head is up, pelvis way down. See if you can keep the back leg straight rather than dropping the knee. That's a greater stretch in the pelvic region for a reason I'll explain shortly. Going back to here, exhaling at this point, full in breath coming, head up, tail down. Anybody counting? Are we at 9?
Yes.
Okay, next time head comes up, drop the knee. And we'll just take the other knee back. Fill in with a tiger first. Couple of breaths. And then we'll bring the right leg up. Way up. Feet are far apart. Straighten both legs. Body's hanging down, head going towards your foot. And then we lift the head up, tailbone down. Full in breath, back leg remains straight.
Last one.
Last one, thank you. Now, just come forward and bring your foot up. Both feet together. When you exhale, let the body sink and fall down. When you breathe in, lift your head and see if you can straighten your back. What we're going to do next is not come up to standing, but bend your knees. Come back to sitting on your knees, sitting on your heels. And we're going to just kind of wrap this up with a little story. 30 years ago, actually, this year, my mother was dying of lung cancer in a hospital in Vernon, British Columbia, and it was Christmas time, and my brother, who was living in the same town, gave me a call and said, "Hey, Mom's in bad shape. You're expecting her to die soon. She's in the hospital. You should come over." So I came over and I took her out of the hospital. I brought her back into her apartment. They had given her 7 days to live because the cancer cells in her lungs were all over the place and they were leaking fluid everywhere. Her lungs were filling with fluid and she could not breathe anymore. Very small breath that you could hardly see. So I took her home. I spent a week with her, showing her how to breathe and breathing with her and showing her the breath retention. The theory, if you know anything about any kind of engineering, it makes sense that if you put air pressure into the lungs, the fluid will move out. So by doing the breath retention, we were getting a little bit more air in, and she was holding it and dropping her shoulders, which increases the air pressure in your lungs. And that was pushing out the fluid. Every day, her breath got better, and within the week, she was back to full breathing, off her deathbed, going for walks in the wintertime in Canada, outside, and bounced right back to life. Now, this is normal and natural how this works from my perspective, but in her Christian community, they call it a miracle. The medical doctors say, I have no idea what you were doing, but whatever you did, it worked, so carry on. They were not even curious. So breathing techniques to overcome lung cancer. If it can overcome lung cancer, it can overcome simple infection in your lungs from the virus. So strengthen, empower your lungs, give yourself life, extend your life, and be happy about your life. Contemplate. If you could choose to go back to nature, to go live in a garden, tropical garden, where it doesn't freeze, hopefully, or go back to an office and spend your life in the office, which would you choose? Would you rather be out in nature, or would you rather be in a box? While you have time off from the box, contemplate that. What have we done? Let's go back to the garden, where we can breathe, and the breathing is good, clean. There's not too many viruses out in the jungle. Okay? Leave you with that for today. Let's take a few more breaths. Weave that into your consciousness. Feel a sense of gratitude for the air you're breathing, for Mother Nature, for our symbiotic relationship with all of the green plants in nature. They love to have our carbon dioxide and always give us back oxygen with prana. All right, have a great day, night, life.
Bye.